Hey everyone, the cold is still screwing with my sinuses, but anyways, welcome back to Path of Exile, and today we have a champion using Hollow Palm with Frenzy, so that we can bully the ever-loving crap out of the endgame bosses. And I'm posting this today because I'm pretty sure that I'll be busy this entire week. So I might as well get this one out, right? However, be warned that this character is in fact expensive, and that's thanks to an Awakener Orb crafted exploded chest, which is absolutely mandatory because unlike the Scion replica perfect form Ground Slam, we are not using an area of effect skill, and as such we desperately need the extra clear potential. Though with that exploded chest, mapping becomes smooth as heck and elevates the fun of the character. Besides that little caveat, I'm reusing a lot of gear from the Scion build, since we're kind of following the same concept, and let me just say, the Scion was good, but this guy is on a whole nother level, and you'll see what I mean from the gameplay. Anyways, if you enjoy the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, otherwise a rating and a comment are always welcome. And as always, the video is timestamped for your viewing convenience, or something like that. With all of that said, let's clap our way into the endgame. Okay, let's begin with the skill tree and ascendancy. So we are playing as a champion and we are gonna spec into Fortify accessories, permanent Fortify, Impale stuff and 1 HP DPS gains. We are gonna trigger Adrenaline with Purity of Fire and Blood Magic, but that's only for bosses. If you don't wanna use Adrenaline, you can also use Inspirational, and if you can, you could attempt cramming Herald of Purity into the character as well, but that's only if you don't get first to strike and last to fall. Anyways, for the rest of the skill tree, we are a level 94 champion that made no friends with bandits and instead befriended an old geezer on Act 2. As for the passives themselves, it is a pretty similar skill tree to the Scion. We are gonna rush the Impale stuff on the duelist starting area, moving towards the Impale stuff near the Scion start. We are gonna be grabbing life, fortify, more life, attack speed, life, and a couple of jewel sockets on the way. After that is done, we'll be going to the right side and investing into dexterity, dual wielding stuff, some more dexterity, frenzy charges and another jewel socket, grabbing life along the way as well. Now let's talk about the jewels, but first the big orange circle in the middle. This is a Lethal Pride with warriors under Akoya. This version of the Lethal Pride turns any keystone in range into Chain Breaker, which is going to replace our mana regeneration rate with Rage Generation. We mostly use that rage to trigger Berserk during single target. It isn't as necessary while mapping. At the same time, the range of warriors under Akoya matters, as it is a seed of sorts, and it also dictates the kind of bonuses that appear under the nodes inside the Lethal Pride's range. In my case, I've got melee damage, some increased strength and some other useless stuff. So make sure that you get a Lethal Pride that gives you useful bonuses in this space. With that out of the way, we are using two large cluster jewels in this character. Both of them have 8 passives at most. Anywho, the first one has Exploit Weakness for vulnerability goodies and some damage, and Master the Fundamentals for some resists and damage. It also has a useless third node that we are not allocating to save up on points. The other jewel has Drive the Destruction for Life Leech, Smite the Weak to deal more damage against maimed enemies, and Fuel the Fight for Mana Leech. If you don't wanna use Fuel the Fight or cannot get it in your jewel, you can always spec into the Mana Leech near the ranger start. Just 1 point should be more than enough. We're also using one with nothing to get Hollow Palm technique. With Hollow Palm we cannot use weapons or gloves, we get a lot of attack speed and a lot of physical attack damage per 10 dexterity, and we count as dual wielding. We are building around it before you ask why no weapons or gloves. As for the rest of the jewels, one is a Watcher's Eye with physical attack damage while using Pride. If you cannot get this modifier, double damage with Pride is good as well. But Impale hit duration with Pride is the real winner, as that is gonna give you like 3 million DPS, though they are expensive as fudge, so keep that in mind. Otherwise a rare jewel should be more than enough. And finally, those rare jewels, all of them have increased life, dexterity, maybe some intelligence and some other DPS mod, like melee damage, global fist damage, attack speed, etc. It's up to you. Anyways, that's it for the skill tree, which is kinda simple. Nothing fancy really, so let us dig into the gear now. Before we touch on the gear, remember that we are using Hollow Palm technique, which means no weapons, no gloves, and we need to stack a crap ton of dexterity to deal the big damage. With that in mind, the first thing is the body armor, which as I said previously, ramps up the build's cost by a lot. It's an astral plate crafted with an awakener's orb, combining enemies you kill explode and increased dexterity. The end product had an open prefix and I crafted increased maximum life. Yes, I kinda got lucky with the rolls because, you know, this is a gamble. Exploded chests are super expensive right now. A level 106 linked astral plate is also kinda expensive, and I also used a Redeemer Exile on that astral plate and an Awakener's Orb to get both of the body armors combined. So yes, it is not a 5-minute cakewalk. Crafting this is volatile because there is a big chance that it doesn't roll good stuff. Without Harvest, getting one of these is a gamble, so keep that in mind when building the character. Now, if you don't want to use the Awakener's Orb, you can always use a regular Exploded chest as your body armor. Just try to get some dexterity or benchcraft increased attributes. Moving on to the helmet, we need one with increased frenzy damage per frenzy charge as the enchantment, and I crafted this one by spamming essences. I recommend doing the same. If you can get more resists on here, that'd be optimal. The boots I traded for. They've got life, dexterity, resists and movement speed. Try to get something similar, if not something with more movement speed and resists. The amulet is the same amulet as the Scion's build, a metric crapton of dexterity, life, resists and an open prefix to craft reduced mana cost of skills. We allocate Panopticon since we use both an Ancestral Protector and Baal Ancestral Warchief, especially during single target. One of the ring is an onset ring, which again is getting recycled from the Scion. It was fractured and I used essences to hit what you see on screen. Life, dexterity and resists. Also an open prefix to benchcraft mana cost of skills. And the other ring, which is recycled as well, has vulnerability on hit, some dexterity and a resist. I benchcrafted mana cost on it as well. You can avoid spending a small fortune on this one if you get a synthesized ring with vulnerability on hit as the implicit, and then use Essences of Sorrow until you can get life and resists, but that is up to you in the end. Moving on to the belt, this one is a synthesized belt with increased dexterity as the implicit, and I used Essences of Sorrow to craft it because dexterity does not appear naturally on belts. I did this until I hit life and resists, though I will recommend trying to get more life and resists if possible. And finally for flasks, we use a silver flask, a lion's roar and a sulfur flask. If you happen to have a bottle fate, it replaces the sulfur flask. And now, we are gonna wrap up the build guide with C gems. On the body armor we've got Frenzy linked to Impale, Melee Fizz, Multistrike, Brutality and Ruthless. For map clearing we're gonna swap Ruthless for Ancestral Call. However, Ancestral Call is more than enough to map clear and even kill map bosses, or metamorphs here and there. Ruthless is mostly used to bully the endgame bosses, so don't forget to swap Ancestral Call with Ruthless during map clear or else it's gonna become a chore. Anyways, on the ring we've got Berserk, on the helmet Flame Dash, War Banner, Flesh and Stone and Pride. And as a little parenthesis, with Smite the Weak on one of the Cluster Jewels, we deal additional damage against maimed enemies. We've got Flesh and Stone on Blood stance like 90% of the time, so most enemies are getting one-tapped thanks to this setup. Plus the Flesh and Stone aura thing helps you keep a tab on prides nearby enemies taking more physical damage, so in a sense it all synergizes one way or the other. Anyways, on the boots we've got Ancestral Protector and Baal Ancestral Warchief, and also Purity of Fire linked to Blood Magic. This is how we are gonna trigger Adrenaline, mostly for boss fights, though you'll need to take a sip of your life flask after chunking like 70% of your HP. And with that, let's conclude this character's build. As you can probably guess, the bossing is straight up bullying. I don't know if we can say that word willy-nilly without YouTube getting upset, but really there's no better way to describe what we are doing. We are lacking Chaos Resistance, I know that. However, this isn't Harvest. Chaos Resistance is a luxury, not a common occurrence. Of course, if you're swimming in currency, I'd suggest not skipping on it at all, or at least until you hit positive Chaos Resistance, even if it isn't capped. I didn't invest into it because I'm cheap, but again, if you can get it, do it. Besides all of that, I know that the Exploded chest is a very expensive investment. However, I'm gonna tell you what I've been saying since Metamorph. The sooner you can get it, the better for both you and your builds. You're gonna get a lot out of an Exploded chest in today's Path of Exile, so instead of seeing it as an item that is out of your realm of possibility, I want you to see it as a tool that has more than one use. After all, Corpse removal is super useful, evading undead effects is also nice, but most importantly the clear potential of your character with a chest like this is invaluable. It is a gamble though, so I do understand if you wanna take things slowly or don't wanna tackle it immediately. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this character. Thank you so much for watching, I hope that you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Take care, have a nice start to your week, and I'll leave you with whatever endgame clip I've got. Until next time, peace out.
What's this? A real challenge? You've finally caught my attention. Die.
This city is nothing. Rain of stars. Be utterly annihilated.
The others found strength in their projections. They became reliant on them. I am not so foolish.
Why run? What's the point? Pointless. Fury of the cosmos. Creation itself.
Is life really interesting enough to warrant all this pain? Die.
I have seen beyond.
Die.
Watch beauty crumble. You are nothing. Fury of the cosmos. Pointless.
The edge of death, my heart races. I am alive. At least